Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. My name is Jeff Pearson. I'm your host, and we want everybody really on the show, off the show, everybody with an invisible condition to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you do have a community, and you are not alone. And to that end, I have an amazing guest today. I am so excited. Kim Gross refers to herself as a recovering codependent and says that she helps people to go from perfectionism and people pleasing. That's crazy right there. That's craziness. Oh my gosh. To powerful, which is much better. Kim spent a lifetime pleasing people and just seeking perfection while losing herself in the roles that she played for others. And so after developing anxiety, depression, and an autoimmune condition, Kim started learning the path to healing. And as a result of the healing work she's done, she has put together 5 steps that help others to feel more empowered, more joy, and more freedom. I love that. I love it when people get out of their own stuff and then they go help others. I love that. That's what I love about this show, because so many people are doing that. Okay. Kim is the founder and creator of the 5-Step Power Pathway and the host of the popular podcast Masks Off for People. I'll say that again. Masks Off for People Pleasers and Perfectionists. Yikes. And is a champion for helping people find out exactly who they are behind the masks they wear. So I'm so excited. This is going to be a cool show. All right, here we go. Enough tongue twisting. Kim, hey, welcome to the show. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Jeff. A little alliteration there, huh?
Yeah, I know. Woo, wow. Yeah, I should have warmed up before I read that. That was good. So in your bio, you kind of talk about being a people pleaser to perfectionist. There's probably lots and lots of people out there that can relate to that. What did that look like for you, and where, what ways did you find yourself manifesting that, like pleasing others and seeking perfection? What did that look like?
Well, if I can start from the beginning, can I start
Absolutely.
with a story? Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes,
it started for me at the age of 10. Prior to the age of 10, I knew exactly what it felt like to be my true self. I can remember playing in the snow, making a snow angel, playing in the leaves or swimming in the lake, and just feeling so utterly one with nature, my true self, my essence. I knew what it was like to just be. Then, 10 years old, I'm in 5th grade. My mom is at a parent-teacher conference, and for some reason, I'm there as well. Normally, you're not there, but I happen to be at this one. And I heard my teacher say to me, or say to my mom, "Kim is a pleasure to have in class," AKA, She's a people pleaser. I didn't know it at that moment, but yes. And she is capable of doing so much more. And when I heard those words, two things went off in my mind, subconsciously, of course,
Yeah.
was if I start to work harder and I start to apply myself, one, I'm going to please my teacher and then he'll be happier with me. Maybe I won't be invisible, your
Mhm.
show.
Uh,
I'll be seen.
yeah.
And then when I started to get the test grades back and I would get the hundreds or the not, A
Yeah.
pluses and great job. Oh my God, amazing. I'm so proud of you. It was endorphin hits, right? Ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is how I can feel good about myself. This is
Mm,
what I can do to feel worthy. I can perform. I can perfect. I can please.
yeah.
And then have the people on the outside in my outside world give me that validation
Mm,
that I was okay. And that's when I started wearing those masks at the age of 10. And it just went on from there to where in sports, in high school, top of my class, had became president of my class. Learned very quickly that if I wanted my mom to be happy with me, and
mm,
if I wanted to stay in her good graces, I would say what she wanted me to say. I would think the way she wanted me to think and believe what she wanted me to believe. That's how I stayed safe.
mm.
Again, AKA pleasing her, morphing, camouflaging, twisting myself into a pretzel. And I did that since the age of 10 on up. And then I was diagnosed with that autoimmune disease when I was 33. We can get to that part in a minute, but there
Mhm.
was a lot of performing, a lot of perfecting, and a lot of pleasing in between there,
Yeah.
and losing myself. And every time I cut off from my true self and betrayed myself, my essence, I believe that was making me sick physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally.
Yep. Yep. I was thinking the same thing when you said that. I was thinking, oh man, no wonder. No
No,
wonder something had to come out of that. That like that can't go on for too long before your body says that's enough. I've had it. We're done. And then that manifests itself in all. I mean, it could have been much worse, honestly. You know. But yeah, that's oof. Okay. So then so was there a particular no, never mind. You kind of covered that. I was going to ask you, was there like certain particular things that you would do, or like certain situations that it would become a thing, more often than not? But it sounds like you pretty much just were on all the time. It
I
was
was
just,
hyper vigilant on all the time. And because I didn't know any differently, it felt normal. It felt like that's who I was. It felt that was my personality. At the time, I didn't know or realize that what I was doing was living out patterns rather than living a life. And I wasn't being myself, my true self. I was being a false self, fake self, wearing a mask. There's so many ways to label that when we're not being our true selves. But it felt just so normal. It felt like that's who I was because I was 10 when I started, and I was probably even younger, but that was the pivotal defining moment for me when
yeah,
my teacher said that I really started to turn that on. And then that is the time in my life when that part of me that knew my essence, when I was in the snow or swimming in the lake or just riding my bike down the street and taking my hands off the handlebars because I learned to ride no-handed, and the wind
nice.
just like blowing in my face and feeling so free,
Yeah.
feeling so at home in myself.
Yeah, like you had nobody you didn't have to measure up to anybody. You didn't have to
Yeah,
please anybody. You didn't have to, it was just you and yourself and your thoughts, and you were free. Yeah. So it sounds like it only started to become a thing when, like, once, if you hadn't been at that meeting, right?
I
I
know.
mean, oh man. I mean,
I
not
know.
that you can, I don't want to go there because it's, you can't, you know, it's, I think you're stronger for it. And I think you hadn't, we wouldn't be here if you weren't in that meeting. So,
Exactly.
so it's, you know, it's, I mean, you can look back all you want and say, you know, like for me, I can say, well, if I only had, you know, this many surgeries instead of that many surgeries, maybe I'd beat it. You can't do that. You
No,
can't go there. Everything makes you who you are as you go through it. So, yeah,
100%. I
yeah,
mean, I can see that now, and I can feel
sure.
that way now. When I was in it, of course, it was painful, and there was so
Hmm.
much suffering that went on.
Oh,
But
sure.
you're right. Now, looking back on it, like hindsight is 2020, and having that aerial perspective of why all that happened, that was my path. I was
Yeah.
meant to go down that road to be where I am right now talking to you
Yep.
and getting and in the process of writing a book so that when the book comes out, it can help even more people.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about that. So for sure. So, um, d- I mean, I think I know what the answer is going to be to this question, but as you grew and as you, because that doesn't stop just because you're not a kid, right? That's, in fact, it might get more extreme when you're an adult.
It did.
I'm guessing.
Mm.
So how did that go, like, throughout your life? As, like, how did that impact your daily life? You know, was it? I mean, it had to.
Well, for one thing, I can just even fast forward a little bit to when I had my kids. I was a stay-at-home mom,
Nice.
and I was diagnosed with the autoimmune disease when
Mhm.
my kids were 5 and 2. So they were very little at the time, and I was very sick at the time.
Yeah.
And as a people pleaser, one of the hallmark traits is to put everyone else's needs ahead of your own.
Yep.
So now here I am with a chronic disease, or that I was just diagnosed. I'm very sick. I have 2 little kids. How in God's name am I going to take care of them?
Right.
I had to learn. I had to learn self-care. I had to learn how to
Mhm.
put myself first. If I needed a nap, I had to maybe put them in front of the TV for a little while. Or I know that when I did exercise, it helped me to feel better. So I would put them in the playroom at the gym. And even though they loved playing there, they were
Yeah.
little kids, they loved going to the playroom, I still had tremendous guilt. I had such mommy guilt putting them in there for an hour a day or like 3 times a week or 4 times a
Yeah.
week
Yeah.
because I was putting myself first. So I had to really learn how to work with that and to heal from within. And you mentioned in the beginning my 5-step power pathway. And part of it, the steps 3 and 4, is doing that inner work. It's healing the wound that was created in me when I was a child that I wasn't worthy enough. And that guilt that I talked about with my mom that made such an imprint on me that then translated into me feeling too guilty to go to the gym for an hour and put my kids in the playroom where they wanted to be in the first place.
Right? They don't know.
Yeah,
They were having a blast,
they
right?
were having a
I
blast.
I can totally relate to some of that because I've up until just a few years ago, I felt so guilty taking a nap. Like, if I, and with the condition I live with, it's tiring. It can be really exhausting sometimes, and and napping is sometimes necessary. I mean, my
Yeah,
God, I can't. I If you look back in the last 6 months, I could probably tell you that there's been more days that I've napped than I haven't, you know, and it's, but I have to. It's what sustains me throughout the day. And but growing up, um, I don't even know why. I'm not trying to throw my parents under the bus or anything, but because they were awesome and I love them to death, but there must have been something said by my mom or my dad or somebody that made me think that if you're sitting still, you're wasting time. You
Oh, for
know, if you
sure.
and you're not, that taking a nap if you need it is not wasted time. It's not. And it took my wife a long time to be like, to like drive it into me that it's okay, to take that time for yourself,
Yeah,
So
100%, and I think
yeah,
that that was a generational mindset
maybe,
for them
maybe,
as well, because my mom was the
maybe.
same way. She was a very classic martyr, and she would work all day long. She would work herself to the bone, take care of everyone, and then collapse on the couch like at the end of the night
Yeah.
in front of the TV with a bag of chips because she had just given out all of her energy and she had
Yeah.
nothing left. And when she was sick, it was muscle through, muscle
Yeah.
through. Very rarely did I see her really allow herself to rest, nurture her body, take care of herself. So consequently, that's what was modeled for me. And
Yeah. Maybe
that's what
that.
I did.
Okay. Maybe that's what it was then. I don't know. Like I said, I love my parents to death. I
Yeah.
I would never say anything terrible about them, but I just, hearing you say that just made me think back, and I'm like, huh, I wonder, because literally just in the last few years, it's become okay, in my brain, and I certainly don't feel guilty about it now. But man, for decades, I did. So yeah, it's
And
crazy though. It's only one little thing that gets said, and it's off to the
it's
races with your brain. Oh,
so true how just something so subtle, or it would seem subtle or innocent, can have such an impact on our subconscious minds, because
right,
that's where it's coming from, right? It's those
exactly.
subconscious tapes
Yeah.
that we formed when we were little. And it's not
Mhm.
so much the events that took place. It's not really
Yeah.
the event that happened with my teacher when I was 10 years old. It's the interpretation that
Yes.
I attached to the event. There could have been a classmate of mine that was up next in line with his or her parent for the same meeting, and the teacher might have said the same exact thing,
Yep.
and that student might have interpreted completely different. He or she might have
Yeah.
been just zoned out and heard nothing.
Or
And
just water off a duck's back. No big deal. Who cares?
exactly.
Whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
all about the interpretation. So, but I think many of us in our generation, we did see our parents kind of working hard like that. And
Yeah.
they just had that mindset of pull up your bootstraps and you just suck it up no matter what.
I think that's a I I'm a Gen Xer, and I think that is I think that might be part of our generation too. Like it's
Yeah.
we were like I mean, I wasn't personally. My mom was my both my parents were business owners their whole career, so they were home when I was home, so I didn't really. But we were latchkey kids. Like our generation was let yourself in, figure it out. Nobody's home to take care of you, so get your own dinner, figure out what to do with your homework, whatever, for the most part. And so I think that plays into it too. It's like it's up to us, you
It's up
know.
to us.
And so yeah, so that we take things differently than maybe the next couple generations or the previous one or whatever. So
Well, and
yeah,
I would agree with you, and it plays into my other persona of the perfectionist, of being uber competent. So
yeah,
I'm the competent one. I'm the
hmm,
go-to one when things have to get done
yep.
in my family or even my family of origin.
Pick
Yeah,
me, yeah.
I'll do it because number 1, I can't say no to you. I can't say no. So you're going to know you're going to get a yes. But on top of it, I'm going to do a really great job because I'm super competent and I'm going to make sure I do it right and do it perfectly. I'm going to cross all the T's and dot the I's. And it's
Even
exhausting.
if it drives you crazy, right?
Yes.
If you want it done right, you do it yourself, right? That's right.
Yeah. And that's
Uh,
really hard when you're struggling with a chronic illness. It's a really
yes.
hard place to be.
I mean, that's like stacking it on. And, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
totally get it. I mean, nobody gets around the personality thing. Nobody gets around you have the upbringing that you have and that affects you in a certain way. But then you add an invisible or visible, whatever,
Yeah.
you add something to it that's a physical condition. And oh my gosh, yeah, it's like it adds a layer that of crazy that you get to deal with on top of it. Isn't that fun?
Yes,
So,
I know. Even when I
uh,
was first diagnosed, this is really kind of funny. When I was first diagnosed and I started learning like different ways to quote unquote take care of myself so I could heal or manage the illness, I had to do that perfectly. So I put so
yeah.
much pressure on myself to try to go vegan, go gluten free, got to exercise, got to do this, have to meditate, like all the things that one would do to
Yeah.
manage a chronic illness. I had to do them all perfectly and all at
Straight
once.
into everything.
And I
Yeah.
couldn't. I just couldn't. And then I felt frustrated because I couldn't do them all at once perfectly. So then I went into all or nothing. And then I
Oh
would
my
sit
gosh.
with that bag of chips like my mom did, or the, sleeve of Oreos, because I would feel so frustrated that I
Just
couldn't
one sleeve,
feel
huh?
better.
Just one sleeve?
Well, one long sleeve, sometimes
One
more.
one at a time, right?
Oh my
No,
god.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you. You and I have more in common than I ever thought. That is amazing. Yeah. We are so of the same cloth in that respect. Holy smokes. All right, this is getting crazy. All right, look, I think this might be a good spot to just take a break for a commercial or two. I want to pick up where we left off where when we come back though, because there's more to talk about here. And we definitely want to get to that autoimmune. I want to kind of talk a little bit about that just to
Sure.
see what it was, because there might be people out there that have questions about it. By the way, everybody out there, when we start talking about that, if you do have questions about it, you've got the expert right here. You know, she can answer all your questions, and we'll have contact information for her in the second segment and all the things. So you'll be able to reach out, and she'll be able to help you. So stick around, don't go anywhere, and we will see you in just a couple of minutes.
In a world where office workers typically receive 130 daily emails and have an 8-second attention span, CoreCentrica, with her 4 decades of international marketing experience, has partnered with the Learning Code Institute and their 30 years of neuroscientific research. Together, we are crafting unique messaging strategies that resonate, connect, and ultimately convert our target audiences. CoreCentrica, where award-winning creativity and disruptive neuroscience come together. Scan this code now, or call and click, and let us show you how CoreCentrica's partnership with the Learning Code Institute is influencing how businesses connect with their audience, foster engagement, and achieve conversions.
Hi there, I'm Dawn Livingston, your host on the Transcend and Succeed show. Join me Fridays at 2 p.m. Central for limitless inspiration and ways to help you transcend your limitations. Tune into the Achieve TV network and the Voyage to Vitality channel. Transcend and Succeed show, right here on A360 TV.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you for being here, Kim.
My pleasure.
Very cool. So in this first segment, we were talking about you mentioned an autoimmune disease a couple times, and I just to get a little more dive into that a little bit, because I think it'll have more impact when we talk about what you're doing now. I mean, that's not an easy thing to deal with. And so if you don't mind, let's dive into that a little bit. It's tell me that it's Sjogren's.
Yeah, very
Did I say
good.
that right? Okay.
Wow. You
Okay.
did really well with it, Jeff.
The spelling does not do you any favors. So
No, it does not. It does not. It's actually named, the disease is named after Henrik Sjogren. If
wow.
I'm even saying that right, he's Swedish, but we call it Sjogren's.
Yeah. So what is that?
So Sjogren's is, it is an invisible condition, very hard to diagnose. I never looked like I was sick. And I went to one doctor after another, one specialist after another. And I started to really go when I was 30, right after I had my son. And the doctors would say to me, "Oh my goodness, you're a new mom. Of course you're going to feel tired. Of course you're not going to feel well." And I said, "Well, something doesn't feel right. I feel like I'm in an 85-year-old body and I'm only 30. Something's not right." But this went on, Jeff, I kid you not, for 6 years. I did not get diagnosed until 6 years later. And it was to the point that I started to think I was crazy. I started to believe that I was a hypochondriac.
Mhm.
And because every single test that they gave me came back normal. Every test was normal. Blood work, this test, that test. And then finally, the year that I got diagnosed, it's a crazy way that I got diagnosed. My eyes were really bloodshot and really red, and they were itchy. And it was May. So I went to an ophthalmologist thinking, okay, one of two things. I either have pink eye or I have really bad allergies because it's May and that's why my eyes are bothering me.
Okay.
The ophthalmologist said to me, "This is not pink eye. This is not allergies. You have inflammation in your eyes or of the eye, and it's called scleritis." And he went on to say, "Do you have any family history of lupus?" Which I have family history of lupus. So there is, I have 3 cousins, first cousins that have lupus. So then he said, "I need to send you to a rheumatologist to have blood work done." I
Okay.
went 3 months later, it took like 3 months to get in, and he did a full panel of blood work. While I did not come up positive for lupus, I did come up positive for Sjogren's, and I had never heard of it before. It felt like a death sentence. I'm like, what? What is this? What does this mean?
Right.
Again, I'm only in my early 30s with 2 very young kids. I had never heard of it before. And even if it was lupus, I still felt like, oh my goodness, that would be a death sentence. What did that mean for me? So that's where my journey started. And the reason, let me go back to the eyes for a minute for those people who are listening. The hallmark symptoms for Sjogren's is dry eye, dry mouth, or dry skin. Those are just the hallmark symptoms. It can also attack the body systemically. And that is also how it manifested for me. So Sjogren's can attack every single part of your body: your heart, your lungs, your bladder, your joints, your muscles, your nerves, your brain, autonomic neuropathy, which I have autonomic neuropathy. So it can attack in many different ways.
Wow.
And that's why I felt so sick all the time, because
Sure.
every part of my body was being attacked differently. So I would go to the heart specialist and say, "Oh, I'm having these palpitations," or "I'm having fluttering." And then I would go to the lung doctor for this. But my primary, who's supposed to be my quote unquote general contractor, and kind of know what's going on, she had never heard of it before. And most doctors haven't, because it's one of these invisible conditions that is not well known.
I was going to say, is it kind of rare, or is it just not well known?
Very common, it's just not well known. There are over 4 million Americans who actually have it, but most just don't know. They're either misdiagnosed and they're told that they have MS, because MS and Sjogren's mimic each other.
Or maybe fibromyalgia could be thrown in there too.
Fibromyalgia is thrown in there.
Yeah.
It totally is. Or they might get a diagnosis for lupus when indeed they have the Sjogren's, and it's very common to have overlap, right? So you can have primary Sjogren's and maybe secondary rheumatoid arthritis is even another one. Many Sjogren's patients will also have scleroderma. So there's all this overlap with autoimmune conditions.
It's crazy. Okay. Well, you know, there's, you know what, that's pretty common with a lot of conditions, you know, like with hydrocephalus, which is what I was born with. There are definitely co-conditions that thankfully I didn't get any of those co-conditions. But yeah, there's a lot that can go with them, you know, and you just kind of see, okay, well, let's roll it, you know, let's roll the dice and see what we got.
Yes. And I love that you said that, because that's an important part, that co-condition. So when I was diagnosed, I was so scared in the beginning. I didn't know what to do. So I connected right away with the Sjogren's Syndrome Foundation, non-for-profit.
Nice.
I went on the website. I looked up as much information as I could. I became a support group leader. I became an ambassador to raise awareness about Sjogren's.
Nice.
And so after running the support group for 8 years and coming in contact with so many different patients with so many conditions, that they would say to me, oh, well, this is going wrong, or this hurts. And I would say, yep. In my mind, I'm like, yep. Those are all Sjogren's.
Check.
Check. So for anyone that might be listening to this episode, if they have any type of condition going on that they haven't been able to get any answers for, like, definitely reach out to me. There's my website. You can go and book a call, or my email, because chances are you never know. It could be a symptom of Sjogren's, because there's so many.
Well, and you never know. Reach out and check, and if it's not, you know, then
great.
Check that box and move on. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's nothing. You never know.
Exactly.
But it's better to know. So.
And just to have somebody to listen to, because that's what I found more than anything when I was being the support group leader. When I would get a call from someone, it was such a relief for them to just be able to talk to me and just to be able to get it off their chest and say, oh my, you know, I've been having this, I've been having that, I don't know what to do. And so it's just helpful to have someone listen to you too.
For sure. That is 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops, that's not going to work. Yeah. I'll take that off of there.
Yeah, there we go.
I thought the scrolling would not get in the way of the QR code, but I'm just going to put that up there because that's got your email too.
That does have my email there.
I was trying to put both on there, but it didn't work. Okay.
It's fine. Everything is there. KimGrossCoaching.com. Everything's there.
Perfect. So, okay. I wanted to get through that because I wanted to paint that picture, and then so that people can say, holy cow, what is she doing now? So now Kim Gross Coaching, you've got 5-step power pathway. You've got all these things that you're helping people through all this. Just talk about that. Tell us all about it.
So going back to the people pleasing and the perfectionism, that's what I help people with the most, because those two patterns really do, in my mind, play into creating, and it's not even my mind, many people experience it. Yeah. When you have the people pleasing and perfectionistic patterns, there's undoubtedly going to be stress attached to it. Anxiety, possibly depression, and you're lacking meaningful connections, right? So then if you're not feeling connected to yourself and to others, again, there's that stress. The number one reason that I would have a flare-up is stress. That's the top. There's environmental, there's other things that happen as well, other viruses. I just had COVID a couple of weeks ago. That sent me into a flare-up, things like that. But the number one is stress. Stress causes that autoimmune response.
Is the stress, just curious, this popped into my head. Is the stress because and I don't want to say this wrong, but is it because is there like an insecurity in there that's like, I got to do this, I got to do all this perfect, because if I don't know where the boundaries are. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to, like, what am I supposed to be doing? So you try to do everything, right?
100%.
Okay. All right. That's what I was kind of
100%.
thinking. I was
Right?
like, that's
So
gotta have something to do with it. So when the insecurity kicks in, which is probably all the time,
all the
right?
time.
Then, well, no wonder.
Because if I'm
Yeah.
wearing the mask, or if
Yeah.
I'm wearing the mask of people pleasing or perfectionism, playing out the pattern, the
Yeah.
role, then I'm not, again, like I said in the beginning, when I was talking about the snow angel and riding my bike, I'm not able to be in that place where my nervous system is regulated.
Yes. You're in
So
fight or flight.
I'm in fight or flight
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I was in fight or flight all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
So if you're
Yeah.
in that constant perpetual state of hormones flooding your body,
Yeah.
you're going to have disease. You're going to feel sick. And I will also say this about Sjogren's, although it's changing a lot in the last several years, but at one point, 9 out of 10 patients that had Sjogren's were women.
Hmm.
And there was a thought that the disease had a lot to do with hormones. 9 out of 10 were women. Well, whether it is or isn't, I'm not entirely sure if I agree. But if you think about it, though, with the stress levels, when you have that cortisol flooding your body, that's going to interact and have the hormones start fluctuating and going out of whack.
Yeah.
And at the very least, your nervous system is very dysregulated if you struggle with people pleasing and perfectionism.
You know, there's probably more men out there that probably experience it than they care to admit, because
And they don't
honestly,
speak up.
they, we do the people pleasing thing too. It just might be in
Yeah.
a different way, in a different environment, a different whatever. But yeah, I mean, we want to get the attaboy and the pat on the back and all the
100%.
things too. So we just as being as men are, sometimes, a lot of the time, we just stuff it.
And
so
I was going to say that there's that machoism. So if you're feeling something is not feeling right in your body, there's a tendency to just dismiss it. It's
Right.
nothing. I don't need to go to the doctor.
it's just stress, I'll sleep it
It's
off.
just stress.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to the doctor. They're just going to make it worse if I go to the
They're just
doctor.
going to charge me more money than
They're
they
just
should.
gonna charge me more
Probably tell me what I already know. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're right. There probably are many more men out there that have these conditions, but
Come
are
on, guys.
unwilling. Yeah, I know.
It's
Go
okay.
get checked out. It's okay.
By the way, I'm not one of those, man. I've been forced into knowing
Yes.
how to listen to my body, because if I don't, it'll kill me. So
Yes.
literally, it almost did a few years ago. So you have to listen and you have to respond when it speaks up. So yeah, come on, guys. It's cool. It's all right. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. See, but even that, what you just said, is part of what I help people with, because
yeah.
that's a mask, right, Jeff? That's a mask. It's a mask of masculinity. It's like,
Yep.
I can't go beneath
be
and
strong.
I got to be strong.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
show my vulnerability. I can't feel my vulnerability. Well, as long as you're doing that your whole entire life, and you're cutting off from your true self and who you really are to show the world that you are masculine and macho, and again, there's the opportunity for your body to be dysregulated and
Yep.
then to create disease because of the stress. For men, maybe it shows up more in terms of heart disease or high cholesterol or whatever.
Blood pressure. Yeah.
Blood pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
who knows? I mean, there's probably another handful of things that I'm not even thinking of. But yeah, I mean, everybody's different, right? So it could be anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, holy smoke.
That's why
All
this
right.
is such important work, because
Uh-huh.
to really go underneath the autoimmune disease, the anxiety, the depression, addictions, whatever people are struggling with, that's
Yeah.
just the symptom. That is the symptom that's telling you that the wound that you have is infected, and that wound needs to be healed. And that wound most likely was created in childhood.
Most likely. Yep. Well, and or earlier. I mean, who knows? I mean, there's
Or
stuff,
earlier.
there's there's programming that happens in the womb, you know. I mean, it could be from way back.
So I actually do RTT as well, which is called rapid transformational therapy. So it's a form of hypnosis. I was trained by
Ooh,
Marissa Peer.
nice.
And so one of the things that I have come into contact with, or that you're able to do, is have clients who actually, when they are under hypnosis and they're going back to the root cause of whatever their symptom is, they actually were able to go back to when they were in the womb.
Wow. I'm telling you, I say that to people and they think I'm nuts.
Nope.
But you are a human being from the moment of conception, and every
Yes.
cell that multiplies just makes you more human. And as soon as those ears are developed, you're starting to hear stuff. And so if you hear things that don't, well,
And
you know,
feel, right? And probably
and feel, oh yeah,
kinetically, like energetically. So if my body,
yeah,
which I know when I was pregnant with both of my kids, especially my daughter, because I was so sick, right? I had toxemia, I had what was that, preeclampsia. I was
yeah,
really sick with my second
man,
daughter, right?
yeah,
So my body was really in a fight or flight state.
yeah,
I am sure she felt that when
oh
she was
yeah,
in my womb. I'm
oh
sure she
yeah,
did.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, just looking at all three of our kids, you know, and the pregnancies that we had with each one, and the birth that we had with each one, and knowing now what I know that we didn't know then,
Yes.
of course, hindsight's 2020. Yeah, I mean, you can totally see it in their personalities too, like what we did during that pregnancy, what we experienced during that one, how that birth went, you know. It's incredible. It's so crazy to think that it goes back that far, but it so
It
does.
really does. I
Yeah.
don't think you're crazy at all, and I
It,
totally
no, no, no.
believe
I'm not
you.
saying I'm crazy. I'm just saying it feels crazy that you would be able to. It's just
Yeah,
like, is that even real? How can you even? It's amazing how far
I
back it
know.
goes. So,
It is
holy smoke.
incredible. So it's just more reason that we all try to do this healing work,
Yeah,
because we know
100%.
that it can, especially for anyone who's listening, who, if a person is a young woman, hasn't had kids yet, just to think about that
Yeah.
when they're going to get pregnant, if they're choosing to have kids, it
Yep.
can make a huge difference. I tell my kids now, my kids are 24 and 21. And I
Yeah.
tell them, there's no need to rush into getting married. Do your inner work, like
Well,
really become an
yeah.
adult as much as you can. I mean, you're not going to be able to do it all in your 20s, or,
Well,
but do some.
and you're never really married. You're never really ready to be married. I mean, come on.
I know.
No matter how old you are. I mean, good friend of mine just got married in her 40s for the first time. We got married when we were 22.
Yeah.
I mean, you're never ready. I mean, even if you think you are, you're not. There's always something that's like, whoa, where did that come from? So
yes.
yeah, so it's true though. Be as prepared as you can be, though. Yeah.
I say be self-aware. Self-aware
Yeah.
is really important. And awareness is actually the first step of my 5-step power pathway, because
So let's go through that a little bit. Let's talk about that. I don't want to get through this whole show without talking about it. Let's do it.
Okay.
So what do we got?
POWER is an acronym that I use. POWER, POWER. And P is having the awareness of your patterns, right? So Dr. Phil used to say all the time, you cannot change that which you are unaware of. So if you aren't even aware that you have these patterns, you're not going to change squat.
Yep. Don't know what you don't know. Yep.
You don't know what you don't know. I said, when I was young, I just thought it was me. I thought it was normal. I was just playing out the patterns. It just felt so it felt like me, but it wasn't. So now what I really help and teach is for people to be so keenly aware, so super focused on the patterns, that they become aware of them when they come up. And then they're like, oh, okay, there's the pattern. Now pause. Let me go to the next step, which is O. And O is, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but it's own your SHIT.
There it is. Yeah, the FCC doesn't really like that, so I appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask you beforehand. So it's own your stuff, right?
Yeah,
O is own your stuff. And that just means taking responsibility. So as you said, you
Yeah.
love your parents, you don't want to blame your parents. I don't blame my parents either. They
No.
did the best they could with what they had. And so therefore it's on me. The onus is on me to recognize my patterns. Now I need to do something
Right.
to change that, to
Because
heal.
once you figure out it's you, then if you don't do something, then it's your fault, because
Exactly.
you can't
Then it
blame it
is.
on somebody else once you figure out what it is. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So I can't blame anyone. And not only that, but I cannot change or control other people, places, and things. I can only change myself.
Yes.
And so if I don't want to be in victimhood and I don't want to be blaming others,
Yep.
then just like you said, I have to take the onus and the responsibility to see my patterns and to do something differently, which are the next two steps, which are W and E. W is the willingness to feel in order to heal, and E is embracing the inner child and the shadow parts. So that's where you go from the head down into the heart and into the body, and you really start to do the healing work, whether it's with a coach or a therapist in the beginning. Now I do it daily, repeatedly. It's a repeatable process that I have here. And so I just teach that to others. But in the beginning, because it can be hard to go in and be compassionate with the self and to really heal the inner child, it might be helpful to have someone guide you in the beginning. But that's what you do during W and E. It's really embracing that part of ourselves, that child self that was wounded, and reparenting that little child in us. Once that is healed, when the infection is out, then R is taking radical responsibility. Now you can go and set boundaries. Now I can have conscious communication. I can, instead of avoiding conflict, I can face conflict, because I can do it in a way that I speak from my experience and my experience only. I'm not in the blame and, oh, you did this, oh, you did that. I'm taking onus and I'm saying, this is how this feels for me, or this is a boundary for me, whatever the case is, so that now I can operate differently from the way I used to and not still people please and perfect. So POWER, 5-step power pathway. And it's a repeatable process. I use it over and over again. As soon as I see one of my patterns coming up, because they will come up, they're not going to go away. They will come up less and less, and you can catch it more quickly. But then that's what you do.
Well, and the more you do that, probably the more different things that will come up. I mean, peel back the onion,
That's it.
You tackle that one, and then that makes room for something else that you may not have even been aware of or not been able to handle. With this one in play, that was still a problem. You couldn't have handled this one. So now that this one's good, now you can address this one. And that's why it's a continual process, because there's always layers of it.
Always layers, or another way is to say the spiral of healing. So, you just get one level, you heal. Now you go up to the next, to the next, to the next. Or as you said, I always use the onion analogy. You just get closer and closer to the core. Then there's just always another layer, another nuance, a deeper healing of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Awesome. I love it. It's so cool because anybody can do it. That's the cool part, is it's not like you have to. I love that kind of program, because Catherine and I my wife and I saw a counselor years and years ago, because we're like, well, somebody recommended it. And they're like, well, your marriage could always be better, right? Like, yeah, sure. So we went, and she is one of those counselors that has it's like an intensive thing. And she gives you the steps. She gives you the tools, so that she's very smart. She didn't want to be the once a week for the rest of your life kind of counselor. She's smart. She gives you the tools. And if you don't use those tools, no amount of once a week for the rest of your life counseling will help you anyway, because you're not willing to take responsibility and use the tools you already have. So I love that yours,
smart.
Right? And so I love that yours is kind of that same format. It's like, here's the tools. If you don't want to use them, don't come crying to me. you know? So yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
Well done. Yeah, that is fantastic. And everything we just talked about is on your website through that QR code. So if anybody has questions or they want to go check out more details, reach out to you.
I also have a quiz on my website too. If someone's
Ooh.
wondering if they are a people pleaser or a perfectionist, it's right on the front page. It says just take the quiz, and there's 10 questions. It's simple, it's fun, and you just get some information on whether you have those people pleasing and perfectionistic tendencies that I've been talking about.
And for those perfectionists out there, you ace it no matter what. The questions, you're not going to have there's no such thing as a wrong answer. Okay. So there's 100% A plus every time. Okay. So don't worry about it. All right. Yeah.
Good one. That was good, Jeff. I love
Right?
that.
Right. For all the perfectionists out there.
100%. You're going to
Yeah,
pass.
it's always a 100% score. So
Always.
yeah. So don't worry. Don't shy away from the test because you don't think you'll get 100%. Take it anyway.
Take it anyway.
So just in the last couple minutes, I just wanted to, believe it or not, we're here. We're almost done. It's like
Incredible how fast that went by.
I know, it's crazy. So we've got a way for people to reach out to you. We've talked through the 5 steps. We've got all of the is there any last thing that you would in the last 2 or 3 minutes, if you had somebody in front of you that was like, well, I don't know, am I in that boat? Am I not? Am I, what would you say to somebody in the beginning there?
Okay, so what I'm going to say is what I have been doing for myself every night for a while now.
Okay.
As soon as my head hits the pillow, I ask myself, or I say to myself, and some people might think this is a little bit morbid, but it really is powerful. So I say to myself, if I don't wake up in the morning, will I have any regrets? Oof. And it really, I get chills just now saying that, because it really forces me to examine my life and to ask myself if I am living my life fully as my true self and the way that I want to live my life, as opposed to living according to other people's expectations of how I should live my life.
Yeah.
I don't want those deathbed regrets. I don't want to say, I wish I had done. I wish that I was more myself. Why did I wear a mask? Why did I pretend to be someone that I'm not? Why did I hide who I truly am? Why didn't I speak up? I don't want that. So every night I lay my head down, and before I go to sleep, I say, if I don't wake up in the morning, will I have any regrets? And then if it shifts on when I do wake up the next morning, on how I want to live my life differently, or I think about it like, oh yeah, I really could do this a little differently, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is a little bit. I mean, I don't know if I'd phrase it like that, but yeah, it's good. The sentiment is great. I mean, adapt it to however you want, everybody, if you want to try that. But yeah,
we never know if we have tomorrow, right? We're never guaranteed tomorrow.
No, you're guaranteed today, right now, right this second is what you're, because you might not even be here 5 minutes from now. So yeah, you're guaranteed right now. Yeah. So it's true.
So that's why, right now, I just showed up fully 100% with you, 100% present, 100% myself. I didn't hide. I didn't pretend. I didn't put a mask on. I was me.
I love it. And that's how we like it. So that's perfect. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. That was amazing. So I'm so glad that we had the chance to do this and get out there, because so many people, I mean, a lot of the stuff that you said in the first segment I was like, yep, check. Mm-hmm. I was like, maybe not in the same way, but yeah, a lot of people struggle with this. And so,
and then check out my podcast as well. So, I would love for people to follow my podcast, Masks Off, for people pleasers and perfectionists, because I have guests on all the time that are amazing. We have some great conversations. You can find that on my website as well. There's a page that's just for the podcast. Awesome. And we talk about all the ways that people pleasing and perfectionism show up, how it impacts our lives, and what to do differently.
That's awesome. And I'm pretty sure we have I know we've got your website. We're going to put, so when this, lands on the, on the information for the episode, I know the website's on there. I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure your podcast like link and all that stuff is on
I
there.
think I gave it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure without looking at it, but yeah, I'm sure if it's not, we'll make sure it gets on there so people can have a shortcut to that. So awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for
You're
being here and
welcome.
being so real and being so present and awesome, and I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, this was cool. I'm telling you, I love it when people come on and they're like that, and then they give you stuff you can use. That's so cool. I mean, it's that's kind of what I hope for every time. Is let's give everybody something they can chew on. Something they can use. So thank you so much. So all right, everybody, if this show really struck a chord with you and you think somebody else needs to see it, share it far and wide, because if you know one person that could use the information, there's probably a bunch out there that could. So, and if you have a favorite episode, maybe this is it. Maybe this is your favorite episode so far. Share it too, because it's probably, if it's yours, chances are it's probably somebody else's, or it will be. So thank you for that. And thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you so much. Join me for the next show, which, the date escapes me right now. I'm just gonna, I don't really know what the date is, but welcome to Live TV, people. I thought I had it in front of me and I don't. So, but we're here every Tuesday and Friday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So join us for the next show, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. Till then, have an amazing day. We'll see you next time.